Welcome back, everybody. That bolt right there is the last bell housing bolt left to take out. So we're ready to split the engine from the chassis on the 1936 RD-6. My helper's out, Senior. He's got the tractor at the ready, chains, planks, and we'll be testing our engine skid. So let's not waste any more time. We'll tap that last bolt out. We'll see if we can split it.
We'll see if the engine jumps a little bit. Yep, see that?
There's no alignment dowels in play.
No
there.
alignment dowels. There was a little tension on there, and I seen the back part drop slightly. You can see the gap right down there, how much it dropped.
It makes it easier to split. But yeah, they kind of have these shoulder bolts, which act kind of as several alignment dowels, and then any slight discrepancy is taken up with the thermoid links, I'm guessing. So. Wasn't any drama. Oh boy, this video's not going anywhere. No catastrophe. Of course, it isn't up to the shop. I shouldn't talk too loud yet. Have a look inside the bell housing at what's left of the clutch. I just got done telling Senior he's bad for YouTube because he makes everything go way too smooth.
Age and experience.
Yeah. I won't argue with that. There's all the pins where the thermoids attach. Boy, is there a lot of black brake dust, clutch like friction material dust in here. It's dirty stuff for sure. I'm gonna have him pull this ahead a little bit more. We'll direct him. He's watching too. And good. All right. Senior just brought up a good point. He said we could take this all the way to the shop and roll it into the shop, but you're probably not going to get the cherry picker legs too far in around this this stand. And I was like, yeah, that's actually a really good observation. So he said we'll probably be moving it back outside to pick all the heavy parts off with the tractor anyhow. Let's just keep it outside. And I was like, you know, that's thinking right there. So we've got it far enough ahead off the chassis we can get to the back. So I think we're just going to leave it right here and start taking pieces off. That was the last of the fold over locks that needed to be flattened out, and these are really rough. I'm not knocking people for reusing them in the past. Not everybody back in the day could afford to retool with new foldovers, don't get me wrong, but when they get this bad, or like this one that's cracked most of the way through, you might as well not even put them back in because they're not strong enough to hold anything. But okay, 1 1/8 wrench will fit the hex portion of the thermoid drive studs. 1 1/8 will also fit the main flywheel bolts. So we'll work on getting this flywheel off first. I got all that nasty black clutch material off of there safely, used all the proper precautions. I'm gonna have to file quite a lot on the hex portions of these because like that's got a big chisel mark and the rest have been rounded from trying to use end wrenches. These are too deep to get a standard socket on, so it doesn't surprise me that they're a bit chewed up. And while I spend some time knocking these thermoid pins loose, we might as well dive into another RD-6 FAQ. There. Nick Biment asked, did Caterpillar paint their tractors like most tractor manufacturers where they were sprayed down after final assembly and only what was visible got good paint and the rest was left bare? And the answer is, yeah, pretty much. Archive photos show Caterpillar tractors being assembled back in the 1930s with some parts clearly still bare metal, other parts covered in or coated in Caterpillar's kind of dull yellow primer that they used back then. Other areas even show what looks like oil or grease from the assembly process running down the sides and all over everything. But these tractors were assembled, fully assembled, and then brought through a steam cleaner and then basically mob painted yellow, just fog yellow all over whatever you can get. And even the parts that were hand painted, like their high temp silver exhaust manifold paint, were treated much the same way. This photo from the Caterpillar factory in the 1930s shows an RD-6 in the background, and in the foreground is what looks like a 6G series Caterpillar 30, like a gasoline equivalent of a D4. And looking at the back side of the exhaust manifold, kind of where it wraps around next to the valve cover, you can see brush strokes and where they didn't quite get the high temp silver all the way around. There was some bare metal left back there. But once the hood is put on, that's never seen. So they pretty much just painted what they could paint and didn't get too concerned about missing spots here or there. The main flywheel bolts, we're just going to rattle out because these are a lot tighter than these were out here, and it's just easier to rattle them with the impact than it is to try to keep the flywheel from spinning. These bolts are also tightly shouldered for alignment. There are no alignment dowels flywheel to crankshaft either, but it's pretty common on cats that finely, tightly machined fit of the flywheel bolt is what keeps everything centered. Tweak up a little bit. Okay. You got it. Working on the front now, we've got 6 bolts that go around the perimeter of this manual hand crank drive. It just disconnects like that. So the cross pin you see turning there is what goes in and engages with one of those 2 cross slots that are in that crankshaft nut at the front of the engine. So that's how you push that in, engage with those slots, and bar it over. Okay, pinch bolt out of the bottom of this lever. I'm going to take that off to protect it from being damaged because we are in the process of pulling the front cover. Chisel in there just to spread it a little bit. Yep, loosens it on the shaft. Drifting right off. There we are. Pull this cotter pin at the top. We have this basically a spring linkage, goes onto the upper part of that lever, and then we'll pull this cotter pin out here, and then the main pin comes out. Oh, good thing we're taking it apart. It's in the oil pan now. And this is what's on the other end of that spring linkage that we just unpinned. This is the throttle plunger. So 2 bolts. I've already taken the bottom one out. Top one's loose, starting to drop already. Get that spring end out of there. That's what that looks like. Back on the front side of the cover now, this lever, and their pivot will come off as one chunk. And you can tell we're not the first ones to do this because this fold over lock is still good. They didn't have to take that out last time. This fold over lock is still good. They didn't touch that one. But the 2 bolts that we'll be taking out, yep, somebody's been here before. So the levers come off, and at the same time we can remove the thrust collar for the Governor flyweights. Front cover perimeter bolts now. We'll look at the ones on the oil pan flange first. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now the ones that are facing us, 9, 10. Up the other side, 11, 12, 13, 14. Now we go up to the top, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And don't forget, hiding on the back side, number 21 right there. We've got it on the move now. We have to walk it off of a dowel pin right here and another one on the other side. And also, you got to go in and cut the gasket, or at least break the bond where it meets the oil pan flange. And some really old kitchen knives work great for that. You can just tap them right in. You don't need to worry if you break them, yet they're not that sharp. So works pretty good to break that seal. Now this water pump shaft, as well as an idler gear back here that runs under this cover here, they will come out with the front cover, but you have to walk it out square in relation to the engine block, otherwise things want to bind. Okay, everything's free. Flattened some more fold over locks that were clearly reused last time. The RD-6 engine weight loss routine continues. I'm going to take these 4 bolts out and remove this. It's a bushing hub for rear support on that cooling fan shaft, and we'll also take this oil supply line along with it. Hey, we didn't drop anything in the oil pan. Gotta have some fun with it. There we are. What I'm doing now is taking as many oil pump system bolts out as I can, because we are still solid and safe on this big heavy engine stand. This is the perfect time to get as much of this work done as possible before we try to pull the oil pan off and we are under something very heavy and very suspended. So there should be 3 bolts on this front suction bell. Working on those right now. I've got 2 of the 3 out, working on the last one. I also wanted to show you guys, I fished the 2 pins out right there and right there that fell on the front of the pan. And we also found another chunk of broken piston. So that's cool. It's rather tight working in here, but some of the work I did to that front suction bell, I accessed through this opening in the bottom of the pan. Now I'm working through the opening in the side to get the main oil pump as unbolted as possible. I'll be able to get 2 of the 4 bolts, these front 2. The back 2 that are along the pan wall back there are going to have to wait until I have the oil pan off. Back to the outside of the engine now. 4 bolts, and we can remove this small oil manifold. It's just about shedding weight wherever possible. Ooh, gunky in there. Yeah. And now I'm going to take most of the pan bolts out. In fact, I'm only leaving 4 in. There'll be kind of 1 on each corner, just loosely installed. So I made up a couple lifting brackets the other day when it was raining. Perfect in the shop project. So this one attaches to the back, and I offset the lifting hole a little bit. Even though the crankshaft and the cylinders and everything are kind of in line over here, the block gets a lot fatter over there. So it was an educated guess. We'll just see how in balance we end up being. Same for the front of the block. Offset the lifting hole just a little bit to that side. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same bracket, but I had to use 6 smaller bolts up here because that was really the only choice I had in this area. All right, see if it'll lift. Get that close to the ground because we are right on the edge of what we can lift. Good there. All right, I got the oil pan bolts out and it just dropped, so I'll have him lift again. Lift her up. We just dropped 250 plus pounds there. Keep going. Good. Okay, there's the oil pump. Got the last 2 bolts out. He's going to raise it some more. There. Clear. All right. Place it on 4 blocks. Let it on down. Looking good. All right. We are on the ground once again. Okay, you're clear. Wow, lots of sludge going on inside this oil pan. Now here's something back here. I saw it when I was working in through the side on the oil pump. I don't know what that is. It's a bit worn on that end. Feels like it's light. Oh my gosh, it's a stick. Look at that. There was a stick in the oil pan. Oh man. I have seen it all now. Oh boy. Now, we normally wouldn't leave off like this with an engine on blocks on the ground, but the main goal here was to free up the engine skid slash stand for old stovepipe so we can continue with that recovery. We accomplished our goal. This is good to sit here. I can cover it up, and the main goal is to get that other machine hauled, and then we'll keep going on this. I've got a very dirty oil pan over there to clean up still, but the Kubota did its job, and that's what I call a spooky lift. Let's get you there out of the glare. When you're right up against capacity like that and you're giving everything the true test, we know we don't have any weak links in it. I'll say that. So it would be nice to get the next engine a little bit lighter still next time, although there really isn't anything else I could have pulled off, unless we start doing cam sprocket, crank sprocket, just nickel and diamond like that. But we did it and we made it. We know what we can lift now anyhow. So all right, we're going to cut and run right here because priority is to get old stovepipe hauled. So now that we have our equipment freed back up, I'll be cleaning my mess here and blasting back on over there. So that'll be what to expect in the next one. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope to see you back for the next one.